Alright, what's going on, everyone? Connor Unchained. So, as you guys have seen, the market has taken a nice dump. Market's been down very heavily today. Mainly it was based on some FUD. It seemed like some dude with like 800 followers on Twitter claiming that all the ETFs are just not going to be approved, and it caused huge panic in the market. 7, 8, 9% wick to the downside. And honestly, a lot of projects were down very heavily today. You know, where I am in Eastern Standard Time, um, TradingView it corrects the numbers here and the percentages, but earlier today, this morning, everything was down 10, 15, 20. Some of them over 20%. It's kind of crazy to see. So that was like the first major, I feel like, downside that we've had in a while. Even though even right here we had a wick to what, 5, 6% down right there as well. I feel like this one really hit though, in comparison to a lot of the last, major drops. Well, like I said, we've seen a lot of downside recently, and I'm kind of just gonna go through, some thoughts that I have, and kind of what I'm planning and what I kind of expect going forward too. And as far as me being allocated into a lot of altcoins right now, so I'm still very heavily allocated in the market, but I'm still fairly uncertain as to what really is going to happen when Bitcoin, or not even when these ETFs actually get approved. I'm very certain that they're going to get approved, but in my opinion, I still I don't know 100% what to expect once these actually get approved. I feel like people are expecting like God candles to the upside, and all this from it, but in my opinion, either when they get rejected or not, or rejected or approved, I feel like it's still gonna be some sort of sell the news event. This could be a new numerous reasons for it, but in my opinion, my gut has been telling me that more downside is pretty imminent. And what I plan on doing, I'm gonna alert everyone on Patreon, let everyone know that whether tonight or in the next couple of days, there will be maybe one or two projects, potentially maybe three, that I'm thinking about, cutting a little bit, whether that be a little bit of the profits that I've already made, or just if I'm already allocated into them, I'm going to be taking a little bit off the table. Whether I be a little bit over invested in some of them, or, maybe these coins I just don't have the right conviction in, or like as much conviction as other plays. And so those I'm going to be cutting out. I'm allocated to a couple more smaller micro caps that, my conviction isn't 100% on them. So I wouldn't be opposed to like taking some profits off the table for them. And just putting them back in ETH, putting them in stables. Because like I said, I personally wouldn't be surprised to see more downside here. But like I say, at the end of the day, I'm always a bear in the markets. I always expect downside, and I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, to see something at least to 37, 38, maybe 39K. That's kind of the range area that I want to see it bounce at. I could see it coming like right here. But if it's very heavy downside, we could see something like this. It bounces, goes up for a little bit, and even comes all the way down to like 34 or 35. And this is in the downside worst case scenario here. Well, like I've talked about in many videos, if you're allocated in the markets, you have to understand, risks on both sides. If you're allocated in the market, understand that there's a chance you can continue to make crazy gains. We could see, crazy upside from the ETF, like a lot of buying interest. We don't know. Do I think that's actually very probable? In my opinion, no. I don't think we're gonna see anything like this at all. like continued upside. I just, if we do, I'd be shocked. I'll be blown away. And and like I said, I'm still heavily allocated, so I'll be happy. We'll all be still making crazy gains. From down here all the way up, or from down here if you got in, or here, or if you bought the top here, wherever. But like I said, my thesis, I still, no matter what happens, I do see some sort of downside. It's like even on technicals too. This is on the daily, which, I'm trying to show you 1 second here. Look how slow. I love to see that. But anyways, in my opinion, like I said, I do expect some downside at some point. We had this huge wick down. This is probably going to be a little bit choppy for the next day, couple days. And depending on what the Fed says, the government says, we could see a lot more volatility to the upside or to the downside. But like I said, just FYI for all of you guys, if you're heavily allocated still, just understand the risks of continuing to hold strong. Like, if you have good projects and you know that these are very good ones that you want to be holding for a year and a half, by all means, don't even stress too much about any drops. If anything, continue to DCA, throw small chunks of money in, at certain time frames, whether it's weekly, or whatever, monthly too. Because that personally is the best strategy where, you're not going to be worried too much about your risk or really your entries like that, because you're just accumulating, waiting for, even the second half of this year, which is when I expect things to actually get parabolic. That's kind of my thought process on this stuff, and whether, for different reasons, like this is why I believe what I believe, but, a lot of people are claiming, like, different. The people are saying, oh, well, it's just a little shakeout here, like, we're going to continue once the ETF's approved. But, I've been trusting my gut in the markets, whether it's right or wrong to you or whether it's right or wrong to anyone else. I've been trusting my gut in the market for, years now, and for me, it's worked the best that I've ever expected, especially over the last few months. And I'm going with my gut here. And like I said, I'm still holding most of my coins, if not all of them, but, just a few micro caps or a couple that I don't have conviction in. I'm going to cut some of my profits up the table, or just a chunk of that position, like stash it aside, and still leave some allocated into them. But, that is something that I plan on doing. And like I said, just be prepared for more downside if you guys are still holding a lot of projects right now, because I would not be surprised to see more downside. I feel like I'm heavily repeating myself here, but like it's just very hard to know which way it's going to be going. And I'm just really curious to see as to how this is going to play out. I don't really have too much to say. We do have ETH too. I think on Kraken too, ETH had a wick like way lower than this too, which is interesting. But I'm not gonna lie, the ETH chart looks way better than the Bitcoin chart. Like, this looks like it just came up, and a nice retest anywhere in between 1900 to 2000, I think would be a beautiful like little retest area before longer term continuation to the upside. But in my opinion, it's just Bitcoin just doesn't look like that. Bitcoin's chart, like, the support is way further down. Because like I always say too, it's like usually when things are going to go up, or when things go up so much, they got to come down at some point. And I know in a bull market that's, it's kind of relevant because you'll see huge runs, then like 20-30% short-term corrections, then another run, another 40% correction, then another run again to the upside. And then usually it's going to be somewhere on the top. Then it's going to bounce around, and eventually just crash. But like I said too in my last couple of videos, I'm not sure if this is part of the actual bull run yet. Like, we've seen this, have called this the bottom, the start of the bull run. You know, I really do see some downside slash choppiness, especially going into the election and then going into after the halving. I think after the halving still is really when we're going to see the most actual parabolic price action from Bitcoin, because based on history, that's what it's done every single time. You know, I think the halving was in May, I think, in 2020, you know, and then I'd say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months later, a few months after the halving is when we saw Bitcoin decide to start, you know, absolutely mooning. It wasn't 3 or 4 months before the halving. Again, this is why I'm really questionable in the market right now. You know, I mean, it really has given us some free gains from all the way down here to up here, or down here all the way up here. You know, it's been an unbelievable run thus far. But like I said, just expect some downside, worst case. And this is kind of my thesis going into, like, you know, the next few days, weeks, and even months. Because for me personally, I'm the most uncertain when it comes to the time frame of now in January up until around March, April, and May. I really do think after like June and July, if the market is down here, if it's bottomed out slash a lot lower, that's going to be the prime time to be in the market and allocating. Again, if the prices are for some reason down here, say April, May, June, July, August, before, you know, the next actual move to the upside. But like I said, I can always be wrong. And if I'm proven wrong, you know, and prices just continue to surge, the bull run literally has started. You know, hold on one second here. You know, I don't know if a lot of people are expecting this to continue up, you know, and just a continuation of upside with minor corrections until the end of 2025 or until 2025. You know, you guys can believe whatever you want to believe and, you know, have your own thesis and ideas for the market, but I'm just giving you mine and what I'm planning on doing with, you know, these projects. But, you know, for the most part, most of the coins that I hold, I'm really just trying to accumulate. I don't really care what the price is now. I would rather get in and continue accumulating lower on a lot of projects, but at the same time, even projects that are on good dips right now, I do believe they can go a lot lower, especially if Bitcoin continues to drop and it just does something like this. Obviously, this is wrong time frame wise, because I don't think it's going to dip like that, but I feel it's going to be very choppy. So just make sure you're safe, allocate safe and accordingly. If you're in micro caps, make sure your risk is very small and you're not risking, you know, your whole life savings in a cat coin or a new dog coin. Just, you know, just be safe in the markets, guys. You know, I just want to make sure everyone can save some gains that they've had. You know, if you have a ton of money still sitting, like profit wise in certain coins, you haven't taken anything, don't be afraid to take some off the table. I think that's super key, especially just to save some capital and have it on the sidelines. You know, right now I do have a good chunk of money sitting on the sidelines anyways for dips. But like I said, like, this was not the dip. I don't believe that at all. If it's going to drop over the next 2 to 3 months, this is when we're going to see, you know, major medium-term downside, worst case. But I think the rest of 2024 you know, the end of the bull run slash the beginning, really, you know, maybe a few months after the halving on, I think is going to be an up only for a long time, for months. I do believe the second half of 2024 will go crazy. So I still feel like as long as you're allocating, even anywhere around these price levels, whatever certain altcoins are at, just DCA, throw little chunks in, and don't worry about price too much. Because what I've found too is, especially if I'm throwing heavy amounts in all at one time into one altcoin, I tend to watch the charts like a hawk. And if it's down a few percent, I start kicking myself because I'm like, shit, if I just waited 2 days, I could have bought so much lower. Like, don't do that. I really do recommend DCAing. If you got good projects, especially now that it's on a dip, throw, whether it's a few $100 in, maybe to you have a ton or a lot more money, throw a few thousand in here, wait 2 or 3 weeks, see what happens, throw another 2 to 3,000 or whatever. If you have absolute bankroll on you, throw 10K in here, 40K in 2 weeks, another 40K, another 40K, spread it out time-wise. Do whatever you got to do to just keep your risk low, because bottom line, short-term downside will happen. It's imminent, whether it's a minor correction, a liquidation like we saw, and or FUD, So just allocate safely and be smart. That's what I got for you guys today. I just wanted a little update because I know the market was literally at 45K yesterday. A lot of stuff was sitting nice, and in a matter of 24 hours, not even 12 hours, things just completely took a 180 in the market. So again, just be safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.